I'm going to put it to you that this paradigm's incorrect. I don't think that the strength portion of it is. I think that power could probably be moved up a little bit further. I think that hypertrophy exists across the entire continuum, and I'll tell you why. And I do think that low weights or high repetitions can lead to more than just muscular endurance. So it was resistance training performed at 30% of 1 RM to fatigue, and we said it should result in hypertrophy after chronic training based on the results of the BIRD study and the stimulation of myofibrillar protein synthesis, at least equivalent to the degree of hypertrophy of training with heavier loads. And that's in fact what we saw. This is the change in quadriceps volume measured by magnetic resonance imaging. Each group of subjects performed 3 sets at 30 to voluntary fatigue or momentary muscular failure, or 3 sets at 80%. And the change, whether you looked at it as volume or changes in fiber size or changes in muscle cross-sectional area from MRI, was identical. The interesting part then becomes what happens to strength. And what I want to say from the outset is that after doing this for about 20 years, I think that this is a true statement. The vast, and I mean vast majority of the mechanisms that lead to hypertrophy in normal men and women are intrinsic to the muscle itself. Even if you think about the comparison between men and women, that would eliminate the one biggest apparently hormone that's responsible for hypertrophy, and that's testosterone. Because
it's not defensible to use drugs to cheat at sports. As a matter of fact, most of you who have competed in strength sports know that the only fucking thing you get is you pour hundreds of dollars, if not more, into a meet prep or a show prep, and you get a fucking trophy that you could have just bought for like, 10 pounds or something like that, right? You're going to cheat for that shit, right? You can just go buy the trophy yourself, right? So if you're competing in a drug-tested, drug-free federation, do not use drugs. If you compete in an open federation, which clearly does not disallow the use of drugs, have at it. So what happens to protein needs? First of all, it's probably one of the most popular questions you get about being enhanced. Do I need more protein? Well, this question has an answer. If you are enhanced, you can usually train in such a way that will give you at least occasionally higher volumes and intensities. It is more disruptive to tissues. Thus, your protein turnover is going to be higher. In addition to that, because the net anabolism, the propensity to construct muscle tissue at any one time, is higher, then there's also a funnel for needing more protein. And so people look at the side of the equation and they're inclined to conclude, partially correctly, that they should be eating more protein. Now, let's look at the other side of the equation. If you guys follow me, you know my volume landmarks or whatever. It's just a technical term, a minimum effective volume. It's super easy to understand if you don't know what it means. The lowest amount of volume you can train with and still benefit, still grow muscle. Steroids make your MEV lower. We'll talk about what that means actually later, but they basically, you can train less hard and grow more muscle. Steroids on the other side make your MRV higher, maximum recoverable volume. So the most volume you can tolerate and still adapt to, steroids make it higher. So now potentially you could train even more and benefit. How do we reconcile the two? We'll get to that on the next slide. Here's a really interesting one. Steroids have psychological effects. And because they can recover you from a performance standpoint in the short term so quickly, your desire to train heavy and hard can outpace tissue recovery, especially given the first point here, that your tendons and ligaments cannot keep up with muscle growth. This makes for some really interesting implications. This is what separates intelligent thinking people from dumb animals that go in the gym, shoot all the gear possible, and rip themselves into pieces. We'll get to that in the next slide.